There are traditional home features that I really love, and most of these features invoke lots of really good memories growing up as a kid. For example, if you go to my grandmother's house today, she still has these very old wooden windows with some handles that I think date back probably to the 60s or 70s. And for me, when I open the windows, touch them, they just invoke some really good experiences growing up in that space as a kid. However, many of these quote unquote traditional features that are typically commonplace in village homes uh, drive me nuts, and in part because they are out of fashion or they are not as functional given the demands of today's homes. So in this video, I will share with you a couple of features that are probably no longer in step with current trends, or things that are just dated that may not be necessary, but they're very common in village homes. If you let your fundi just work on their own, typically they'll probably insert one of these. Now, some of you are watching us for the first time. You're welcome to our channel. We are filming from Karating, which is an amazing village in Kisumu City, a town in Western Kenya. If you're joining us for the first time, I hope you watch through the end. If you like what you see, we hope you subscribe. But even if you don't, we hope to see you as a regular viewer. Today, I'm just filming my guys finishing up the gazebo work. Of course, as usual, I'm with my supervisor, watching what they're doing, learning, and comparing notes. And I'm going to talk to you about some of the things that I think are dated. And so don't let your fundi do these things. However, I must say that tastes vary. Some of the things I don't like maybe are the things that really just get your wheels rolling. And so please don't come for me in the comment section if I disagree with something you're already doing. If you like them, that's fine. As I always say, you do you. But for me, these are things that I would absolutely stay away from, and I want to make sure that my fundis know that. So let's get going. Number one, I'm not a fan of the built-up kitchen cabinet that are often built using concrete and blocks and bricks. Sometimes they're tiled after plastering, and in my view, they really look dated. The finishes are almost never crisp, and they're harder to work with, especially if you need to move things around. So if you want to change your cabinetry, it simply means a whole lot work of demolition. So I absolutely don't like those. Number two, there are specific vents that are made of concrete, and I think they have like a wire mesh in them. Again, just like number one, I think they're really dated. But the bigger problem for me is climate control. If you want to put anything to do with the AC in your house, you have a problem. So these things are not as functional or not even necessary at this point. Like in our house, we don't have those. The third thing that I prefer to stay away from are the thin interior doors that are very thin frames without architraves. And this is not necessarily a functional problem, it's more of aesthetics. The alternative you have for that are the modern wide frame doors with architrave, like the one I'm about to show you. Number four, the same thing about interior doors. Some folks set up doors with a gap at the top. I don't know what function that gap serves, but to me it brings extra light that is often not needed. It looks dated, and so I don't think it's necessary, but some people still do it. Number five, sunken or raised rooms. You can either do like a sunken living room, a raised dining area, and these things can look very nice, like the one I'm showing you right now can look really nice, but they may be problematic in terms of accessibility. So if you're using a wheelchair, or if you have a guest who needs a wheelchair, that could be a problem. But also those raised areas really cause falls. And as you may know, those who live in America, falls are some of the biggest costs of elderly folks ending up in hospital. So if you want to prevent accidents, you may want to avoid sunken or raised areas unless you've built up a gentle slope or a ramp that leads down into the sunken areas. Number six, traditional window handles. Many of them look funky and they are not actually safe. I have some of those in my house right now, And within a year or so, nearly 10% of them are already broken into pieces. Now, alternatively, currently they're doing some really good handles that are fairly inexpensive. And they're actually not even from formal shops. You just go to Juakali places, you'll find them. An example is the one I'm showing you right now. And of course, the issue of small multicolored tiles. This is very, very common in the village. People use them everywhere, and so you might find like one small place has maybe 6 different patterns. And then the pieces that are broken are also joined together and still glued and used outside. I don't know why people like these things, but it just looks extremely busy. So that's not for me. Number 8, the small doors and hallways. Usually you hear fundis talk of standard sizes. Those very small hallways or doors, again, becomes really problematic if you ever need to use a wheelchair, or if you ever have a guest that needs a wheelchair or something of that sort. So it's not my deal. And so what I've done anytime we're doing construction is that I have to physically measure and confirm that the width of the door and the width of the hallway suits my needs. Number 9, putting master bedroom upstairs. Very, very common for those who are building multi-level floors. It looks really good, and personally I really love it, especially master upstairs with balconies. It looks absolutely nice. You'll enjoy it. The problem comes when things change. Let's say, for example, you break your leg, or as you grow older, or sometimes you're just tired of going upstairs. Currently, our house, we have master bedroom downstairs, but every time I have to climb upstairs, it just feels like a chore. So the alternative to it is that you can have almost a mirror master upstairs and master downstairs, so that even if you love using upstairs bedroom, if you ever needed a bedroom downstairs, you have that option. So at the very least, I say create 2 masters upstairs and downstairs if you must have a master bedroom upstairs. Number 10, multiple colors in a house. A lot of village houses, you'll find a minimum of 4 to 5 colors, usually very bright colors. You have green, you have yellow, you have red, all sorts of colors. I'm not an expert on things color, but I know for me personally, anything beyond 2 to 3 colors just gets a little complicated. So if you're going to use more colors, just make sure you either know what you're doing or you're consulting people who know what they're doing. I've seen colors that you walk in and you wonder whether you are in a preschool class. And of course, I think it just makes the room cheap. And that also goes with this common, I think it's like a creamish color. Those things can be tricky. So just make sure you know what you're doing, or at least use somebody who knows what they're doing. Number 11, tiny bathrooms, where you have the toilet, you have the shower area, and the vanity all squeezed in a very tiny space. They are actually not safe in many cases, and they're not even functional for people who are slightly larger. And so avoid those. Number 12, vanities outside bathroom. These things can be good if well done. So don't just plant vanity somewhere along the wall just because that's what everybody's doing. Make sure you work with somebody who knows what they're doing. Number 13, over partitioning a house. I've seen lots of really big houses with many nooks and crannies and rooms all over the place. It just makes the house look smaller, and then you end up with lots of dead space that are not really functional. So as best as you can, I prefer fewer rooms or a lot more open spaces. Number 14, light switches behind doors. In many cases, you open the door and you have to go behind the door to turn on the light. Clearly, based on my description, you can tell it's not very functional. And in some cases, you may have only one light switch in a bedroom. So then at night when you want to go to bed, you have to go close to the door, switch it off, and then walk like a lizard along the wall to find your bed in the dark. It's not functional. So make sure you have another light switch right next to your bed. And then of course, number 5, gypsum with 1,000,001 lights, yellow, pink, and all that, makes your house looks like a nightclub. You don't need all of that. Just warm light or daylight as needed works just fine. Then a ton of seats in the living room. As best as you can, the fewer seats you have, the better looking the space is. Of course, when you have more seats, you can host a lot more people, but it's a traditional thing that perhaps is no longer as useful today. And then number 17, overly tinted glasses. This is actually not necessary because a lot of us end up building perimeter walls anyway. So privacy is less of a concern when you're already inside a perimeter wall. The problem with these kinds of glasses is that they filter natural light, and so the house looks slightly darker inside even during the day. So personally, I don't fancy those. And then of course number 18, minimal outlets, especially in larger rooms on the front porch. Just put as many as you need. And then number 19, septic tanks. To me, I think they are larger, they occupy more space, and then at some point they have to be exhausted. A biodigester works just fine, regardless of the size of the house. And then lastly, curtain boxes. And this can come in all kinds of shapes and designs, right from the traditional one where you have wood protruding from the window and others that are kind of blended with the gypsum. Today, you don't need curtain boxes. There's way better gypsum design that allow you to fit in curtains without the protruding woodworks. I hope this was informative enough, and I will see you in the next. Thank you.